They realize to press the start button. Hello, hi. Hope you're well, hope you're swell, hope you're gravy, hope you're gravy, hope you're gravy, eating good. Doing amazing. Amazing. I wanted to add something on to what I said yesterday. It's talking about the importance of knowing how to pick the right people, well, the right person for your life when you're talking about committing to marriage and all these other things. And I just had a thought about the signs that people exhibit sometimes that might show that they're not good for you. That people tend to ignore, and the difficulty that comes with, paying attention to these signs. I think the difficulty is in the fact that sometimes you don't know if you're reading too much into things, because you're trusting your instincts, you're trusting your gut, and every time I've had these signs and I've ignored them, I get burned. Every time I trust them, I'm proven right. Without fail, it's never failed me. And people, sometimes when they get into bad relationships, they say, oh, I never knew, there were no signs, whatnot, the person tricked me, they were lying. It's not true. If you put that person under a lie detector or something, and you ask them, were there signs? They'll say, yeah. Everyone knows deep down there were little things that you saw that you ignored. People are not that good at lying, guys. They're just not. Unless you're like a next level psychopath that's just perfected the art of deception, which is like a very, very tiny percentage of the population. But people will say anything to convince themselves that they had no part to play in their own suffering. So they'll say, my ex was a psycho. It's like, your ex could be not the best person. There were signs that you ignored. And that's almost always true for every person. Listen, my father wasn't a great husband to my mom. I'll tell you straight up. There's a lot of flaws, and eventually they were forced to separate. And she always tells me, Jesse, there were no signs, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, yeah, okay. Everyone who's ever met my father will tell you, like, yeah, this guy has issues. And I don't think his issues just manifested after he got married. I think they were there before he got married, too. But, women, when they're in love, guys, when they're in love, too, you can't talk them off the cliff. You can't pull them back. They take the leap and poof. So it's just interesting to watch people in denial. Someone said they like this trigger. I'll try. But yeah, people tell themselves all sort of things to feel good about some of the decisions they made. But we have to be honest. There were signs. There were always signs, and we have to learn to listen and to pay attention. And like I was saying, it's tricky because sometimes you're like, am I being too critical? You want to be with someone. You don't want to be. You don't want to have your guard up too much, and then you end up blocking blessings. You end up shutting out people that could have been good for you. So that's a serious concern. It's scary to think about. But you have to understand how high the stakes are. It's high stakes, guys, because it's like a bad marriage partner, a bad husband, a bad wife can really set you back in life. Can really do harm to you. And even if they're not necessarily abusive or anything like that, but like if they have the wrong mentality, if you're someone who's trying to achieve things, if you're someone who's trying to have a good life, and the person who has a very negative mentality, that can like really drag you down in serious ways. If the person is bad with money, that can cause all sorts of problems. If the person has bad habits, some people, be married to addicts and stuff like that. There's so many things that just not even including abuse can result in you having a terrible marriage. So you have to understand how high the stakes actually are, which is important, which makes it very crucial that you pick the right person. So yeah, you have to be vigilant. You have to have the ability to suss out any incongruencies, any discrepancies that will lead to extreme fissures in your marriage if you are to commit to a person. And I've found myself having to deal with that. I don't let things get past a certain point. So I don't need to be in a girlfriend like boyfriend relationship in order for me to peep these things. I've gone on dates and I've had conversations for hours, and you learn so much about a person. And then from that conversation or multiple conversations, you learn that, I don't know if we're a good fit for each other, just based on what you've told me and what you believe in. All these sort of things, fundamental things, whether it's belief in God, whether it's vision for the future, vision on marriage, all these sort of things. Yeah, people can change their mind, people can be flexible, but you have to believe someone when they're telling you who they are and what they believe. So it's like for me, if I'm having a conversation with you, and for example, you say, I don't believe in God, or I'm not Christian, I have no interest in any of that, it just doesn't make sense to me to commit, because it's like, I am a Christian, I do believe in God, and I want to be the woman that does, so that I can then raise a family that does, and I know that we're protected, we have that covering, we have that blessing. So it's so important for me to just be honest about that and lead with stuff like that. When I talk about my desire for a relationship in which I am the head of the relationship, I am the head of the household. I'm not playing these games of 50-50 partnership, yada yada yada. I just don't believe in that. I just don't. So I'm honest about it. I'm upfront. And if she's like, well, that's not what I want for myself, like, why would I keep growing? I know a lot of dudes who, this is pretty, not every dude, but the majority of men I've seen, like in this society, I've seen, like, I know people personally who you're having conversations with them about values, about masculinity, about tradition. You know, these guys will be watching Andrew Tate and all these sort of things. I personally don't subscribe to the particular Andrew Tate model of masculinity and whatnot, even though I do believe in many aspects of traditional masculinity. Like there's different strains of it, and there's the kind of hyper masculine Andrew Tate strain of it, where he's pretty much anti-marriage, just, you know, having children, multiple women, yada yada yada. And I know guys who like watch Andrew Tate and agree with him, but then you look at their girls are the exact opposite of that. It's hilarious because it's like, bro, like you're not being honest with your girl about what you believe and who you are. I don't agree with that stance, although I won't shy away from the basic principles of men should lead, men should be the heads of their households, and all these sort of things. I do think it gets a bit extreme the deeper you dive into that particular strain of the general tradition of masculinity. That being said, these guys are not being honest. They get attention from a girl. You know, she might be pretty, or it's just, I get it. It's hard out here sometimes. You know, people just want to be loved. People just want to be with someone. So, you know, you compromise in many areas that might be important to you, just so you can be in a relationship. So I know a lot of guys that do that. They're saying one thing to you because, you know, we're bros, you know, you're a room full of men, so it's like you can speak your mind. But then when you're with your girl, you're a feminist. It's hilarious. So, you know, I'd rather be honest and wait. Because, look, I only need one woman. Here's my thing, right? I'm not interested in playing the field. I'm not interested in having multiple experiences. So I only need one. And there are billions of women on this earth. I just need one who agrees with me. So if I continue to work on myself to make myself as appealing as I can be without compromising on my values and my personality, I believe I will eventually find a woman who makes me happy, right? I just need one. I just need one. So I'm not interested in performing and masquerading and pretending to be something I'm not, just so I can score points. Score points with who? For what? For why? You know? Doesn't make any sense. So I never let things progress past a certain point once I've learned what I need to learn about a person, and that's been the case for a while now. I wasn't always that way. This is a fairly recent development. You know, before then I was pretty much open to anything and all this sort of stuff. But now I've taken the stance of no sex before marriage because there's various reasons for that, and also we need to be aligned in several key areas. For me to feel like I can go further and take this seriously. So yeah, man, you have to look for the signs. You have to. Again, it's scary because You don't want to be like, "Bam, no, you're not it, you're not it, you're not it, you're not it," and then you just end up alone for the rest of your life. That's a scary thought to have. But again, the stakes are very high. The wrong choice could set you back. You don't want to overthink it, but you also don't want to underthink it either, because underthinking, I've said before, I think underthinking is far more dangerous than overthinking, because the consequence of overthinking is that you're just alone, which sucks, it's not great, but the consequences of underthinking, you can end up in some pretty horrible relationships because you weren't thinking things through. You weren't using your brain. So you ended up with a damn monster. That happens to a lot of people. So I'd rather be an overthinker than an underthinker, right? But you know, you want to achieve balance. You don't want to be either. Ideally. But I've said multiple times in this channel, my biggest desire, my biggest dream is to be married and have children, have a happy family. More than anything, I'm writing a book right now. I'm having fun writing this book. I believe it's a great book, and it's, you know, as a writer, you obviously dream about being like your book doing well, people liking it, it making you money, and you know, people are looking forward to the next one, all this sort of stuff. You just dream about these things, about being super successful with your arts. And I'd love that. I want to make video games, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to got this channel to do well. More than any of that, being happily married, being a great father, being a great husband is my dream. It's like, that's what I look forward to more than anything. Because I genuinely believe that's what will make me the happiest on this earth. More than career and all this other stuff. So I take it seriously. I take it very seriously. So I have to treat it like it's an actual goal, it's an actual dream. And when you have a goal, you prepare yourself to achieve it, right? And you do whatever is necessary to achieve it. For some reason, when it comes to love, people think it's just the one area in your life where you don't have to pay that much attention and you can just, hey man, anything's anything. Not much preparation is needed, don't overthink it. Everything else in life, however, like so much planning goes into that. When you're planning to be a doctor, when you're planning to be an athlete, when you're planning to be this, when you're planning to be that, so much effort. Even like you see like with athletes, for example, once you're in the pro league, you don't stop training once you're in the pro league. You train even harder to remain competitive, to stay at the top and to win constantly, right? To stay there. Otherwise, if you don't train, if you don't do what's necessary, you're going to get kicked out, you're going to get relegated to a lower league. In business, the same is true. You have to stay sharp because business is very competitive. You have competitors who can take you out at any time. Someone can offer a better product, all this sort of stuff, right? Like in other areas, a lot of people get this, but when it comes to love, people don't get it. It's very weird. When people get married, they stop trying. When people get married, they don't take care of themselves anymore. They don't think it's important to look good for the person they're with. They're not romantic anymore. They stop like being nice to each other and all this sort of stuff. Like, it's very weird. It's like, no. Once you're in the pro league, it doesn't get easier, it gets harder. You have to try even harder to maintain that, right? So my mentality of getting into a marriage is that once I'm married, I'm not gonna, a lot of guys, I've spoken about this show I was watching, I forgot what it's called. It's such a great show. I saw it on Netflix, it was a reality show. I forget what it's called. But it was like this Japanese dating show, basically, and the one guy on the show, this girl that he liked, and he was buying her flowers. He was doing a lot for her, right, to win her over. Taking her, his dates were very meticulous and over the top. It was a bit much, now that I think about it. And the hosts who were like watching the show, reacting to the footage of the show, they were saying, can you keep this up for the rest of the relationship? Because it's nice now, but unfortunately with a lot of men, what happens is they do these things, and then when they get the girl, they stop trying, which is a problem. So I have the mentality of I have to ramp it up. She can't be looking back to the glory days 3 decades ago when I used to, be more romantic and yada yada yada. It can't be that way. It has to be like he's gotten better. He's actually trying harder than he was back then. So yeah, that's why you shouldn't start too crazy. You need to build up. The homie was doing too much. I'm not sure you should have seen the things this guy was doing. He was like, bro. I mean, it's cute when you really like someone, you go all out. It's nice, but can you sustain that? Is the question. So I'd rather just be realistic and be like, okay, but what are some small things I can do so that I don't exhaust myself over the course of many? Because like, if I'm really serious about this person, we're talking about decades, right? It doesn't take long for me to start envisioning a future with someone if I really like them. I just start projecting, like, okay, what do you look like married? What do you look like with kids? All that sort of stuff. I can't help it. It just happens. If I'm into you and things are going nicely, I just start to wonder all those sort of things. So, I have to think, can I sustain this level of effort over the course of however many years? So for me, if I'm thinking about taking a girl out on a date, it's like the simple things. It doesn't have to be too much, like little things like writing notes, getting her like if she mentions that she likes this particular brand of chocolate or whatever, you get her that thing, just to show you're paying attention, and you just do the little things, and the little things add up over time, and you can maintain that. And you just keep going, and every now and then you make a grand gesture here and there. Doesn't hurt. But I think the little things, you can sustain them. But even the little things people stop doing once they get married. Even the little things. People stop calling each other when they're apart, just calling someone like, hey, how's the day going? Yada yada yada, hope you're doing well, all this sort of stuff. And you don't need anything, you're not asking for anything, you're just thinking about the person, letting them know, I'm thinking about you. Important, man. Important. No one does this. Well, not no one, but it's rare. And this is why so many marriages lack luster. They don't have that spark that they like to talk about. They're sexless. They're boring. They're just dry. In every other sphere of life, we get this. Like I talked about athletes, we talked about business, we talked about all these other things. People understand that once you get to that major league, it gets harder, not easier. So yeah, I think I've driven home that point. In a similar vein, I was thinking about my mom, and my mom raised us by herself for a long time. I think even when my dad was around, he just wasn't active. He just wasn't contributing much. He was always just. I don't want to be too harsh, I don't have any. I think I can say confidently I have zero resentment towards my father. I really don't carry around any sort of hatred or like bitterness, right? It's not something I deal with. But he just has issues, so it makes it hard to engage with him, unfortunately. But I wish no ill on him. Every morning I always pray for my father to find peace, to find happiness. I really do. So that he can be better, because I also know that it must, as a man, it must eat him up inside. To not be the best version of himself, to not be in good standing with his family. So I always pray that he achieves great things. He's up there in age, he's 50 something, approaching 60. I don't want to say time's running out. I think he still has a lot of time. But yeah, I wish the best for him. I really do. But yeah, man, like even when he was around, he wasn't. It always felt like he was taking away rather than adding to the family. You know. My mom had to do so much by herself. She's an incredibly discerning. Out of all my mom's strengths, I think she's extremely intelligent and industrious. Like she's had, like since a child, she's just always found ways to make money, and she's very what's the word I'm looking for? There's a particular word that's just elusive right now. Resourceful, I guess. Yeah, she's very resourceful. She always found a way to make a way, right? And she's had multiple businesses, and she eventually got into architecture, even though she was working at a bank. I don't know how that transition happened. She was working at a bank at some point, and then she transitioned into architecture, which is, you explain that to me. And then from architecture, she started making furniture. She started a furniture business because she wasn't happy with the pay she was getting in architecture. As an architect, she was pretty damn good. She designed a lot of estates. I remember she'd always drive me around and be like, I drew that, like this massive apartment complex or massive estate. There's this I live in South Africa, and there's a massive, it's a ridiculously big golf estate, and so they have like neighborhoods within the golf estate, like different neighborhoods. It's a gated community. It's humongous, right? And it's called the Eye of Africa, I think. It's called the Eye of Africa, and basically a lot of upper income people live there. But then there's a neighborhood that she drew. She drew that, and that they built based on her plans, and she had to. It's funny. It's so hilarious because now when she created her furniture business, she ended up delivering a furniture item to one of the houses in that particular neighborhood. Well, what are the odds? What are the odds, huh? But anyway, she was driving me through them, just telling me, like, showing me I drew this, like, I even named this. Did she name the street? I don't know if she named the streets, but she was telling me, like, she drew this and drew that. She was just pointing to all the details was all her. It's crazy. So, very successful in many ways, even though she wasn't recognized financially for it. I don't think they were paying her nearly enough. But that's a conversation for another day. That's the reason, because she felt like she wasn't getting paid enough, she started this furniture business and then fully shifted into that. And that became its own behemoth, and that's what she's fully focused on now. And I watched her build it from the ground up. It started in the porch of our apartment. Very noisy, a lot of noise. She had this compressor, which is this machine that allows you to it pressurizes the air so that you can attach this little tube to your nail gun, so that when you press the trigger on the nail gun, it shoots out your nails with pressurized air. But it's a big machine that does this, so it makes a lot of noise. So you can imagine when you're living in an apartment complex and you have this compressor that's making like a lot of noise, people get upset. So she was getting so many noise complaints, but she persisted because she had to, and she did it. It went on long enough for her to make enough money to then take the business into a industrial park where. No, it wasn't an industrial park at first. It was basically this. I guess you could. It was a place with a lot of storage units, but people were running. It was basically a place where people ran their businesses out of storage units. So it was basically an industrial park in function. And then she moved to that, and then she moved to then like a full-on industrial park, and the business kept growing, and she moved to another more well-established, more fancy industrial park, and grew the business there as well until eventually she got her own land with this bigger house where now she's running the business from there because it's a furniture business. So what she did is she puts the furniture in this house and arranges it so it actually looks like an actual nice house with all this furniture, but like the furniture on display you can actually purchase it. You can ask it to be, it's custom furniture, her business model, so you can ask for whatever you want and she'll make it. But there's furniture on display that you can also purchase that she'll make it for you as well. And she's had quite the journey, but it hasn't been easy, and even now there's still challenges because the mortgage for that property is steep. She pays almost 50% in taxes, which is it's crazy. And she struggles sometimes. Like I sometimes have to. I don't earn that much, but because I upload every day, it does bolster my income so that it can help her. I really don't earn that much. I'm not balling or anything. I'm definitely not balling. But you know, like it helps what I earn. It helps help her. So I find her coming to me sometimes asking for money and whatnot because the expenses. She's neck deep in expenses. Even right now, we're going through a bit of a rough patch financially. This morning or last night, whenever she had to ask me for money. And the reason why I'm telling this story is because I respect my mother a lot. She's probably the hardest working person I've ever met in my entire life. Her resilience is unmatched. That's what I'm saying, like, of all her traits, she's fiercely intelligent, very resourceful, but of all her traits, her resilience is next level, because she's been through a lot. Especially as a single mother, she's been through so much, and a lot of stress. A lot of stress, not knowing where the rent money is going to come from, the school fees. My brother almost got kicked out of university because she couldn't pay the fees, but God always makes a way, man. It's happened too many times where we don't know where the money is going to come from, but it always comes somehow. At the last second, it always comes. So it'll just be crazy. It'll be unbelievably ungrateful for me to be like, God doesn't exist, God doesn't care about us, God doesn't answer prayer. Because there were some really, like, a lot of touch and go moments in our lives where things could have gone very badly. We might have been homeless. You think about it, like a single mother, like she's trying to, and she always had this mentality of like keeping me and my brother in the safest possible neighborhoods. So I've never been mugged in my entire life. I've never dealt with any dangerous situation that pertaining to crime and anything like that because my mother always went out of her way to make sure we lived in safe neighborhoods and we always went to good schools. So I was never exposed to drugs. I was never exposed to crime because my mom went out of her way to make sure we lived in good neighborhoods, even if it was just assaulting her bank account. You know, she always made a way. Shout out to my mom. So I respect her for that. But growing up, I've seen how difficult that is and what it does to you, the toll it takes, and particularly from as a woman, how it will masculinize you as a woman. So she necessarily develops a very hard exterior. I don't want to overstate it. It's not like she's just butch woman and she's not soft at all. But you know, there's just little things, little habits that she's had to pick up, and I understand why. But it makes it difficult she's not. She's at a point in her life. I don't think she's interested in getting into a relationship or anything like that. She's been married and she's technically still married. She didn't divorce my father. She just separated physically. I don't think she has any interest in remarrying or anything like that. She's just focused on her business, and eventually she'll be a grandma and she'll be part of our family, and I think she'll be content with that. But let's say she was single, she didn't have kids. You're gonna want someone to be with you, right? To take care of you as you get older. So you're gonna look for love, but when you develop some of these habits, which were done out of survival, I get it. It's not compatible. It's great in the business world when you're competing against people and you're trying to like put food on the table. That sort of way of life, it makes sense. It's not great when you're trying to appeal to a man as a woman, because what ends up happening is that she can't let her guard down. She's too confrontational. She's too used to certain ways of doing things. Men just naturally have an instinct to protect, to provide all these sort of things, and they like soft women as well. And you have to be very agreeable in many ways, and when you're in business in a very competitive environment, you have to be disagreeable in order to survive and all these sort of things. So you have to have a certain element of disagreeability. So that has shaped kind of my approach to who I want to be with. I'll be honest, I just don't want a woman that has been through what my mother has been through, that has the same posture that my mother has. Because while I'm extremely grateful and I have so much respect for my mom, like, and there are elements of my mom's character. I do want a woman who is resilient in the way my mom is, because that would be great for my kids to be around. And I want a woman who's like intelligent like my mom is, because she'd be so much fun to be around and have conversations with. I want a woman who's resourceful like my mom is, because then she can help me in the many things I want to do. But I don't want it to be as like the toughness, the certain level of brazenness and confrontational like nature. I don't want that. It's a bit much. It's cool because she's my mom, but in a romantic context, so that's just me. So I would like to be a provider. I would like to fulfill the role that my father failed to fulfill. Just be there in the ways that my father was meant to be there. I think every man should do that, and so your wife doesn't have to be that. I think men and women handle stress, handle certain burdens in different ways, very different ways, and we just process things differently. So I would want a woman who supports me and helps me when things get tough, and my kids are there as well to support me when things get tough. But I'm carrying those burdens, and as a masculine man, as I become more masculine, I become more attractive, not less, to my wife. Because it's just natural to me, right? It's the way it's supposed to be. Because I'm men are built for. So that's just my perspective on dating, on marriage, on the roles of men and women, all these sort of things. I respect my mom a lot, and I'm not saying women shouldn't work. I think a lot of women who are very talented in various spheres, and you should pursue your dreams. But I think you have to couple yourself with a man that can support you and can lead you, so that you can pursue your dreams without falling into a lot of pitfalls that the quote-unquote independent women fall into all the time. The independent lifestyle is not what is chalked up to be great marketing, right? But then people experience the independent lifestyle and they realize it's brutal. It's so harsh and unforgiving, and you have to understand that it's not romantic. But unfortunately, a lot of women have to learn the hard way because they don't listen. But 0 out of 10 would not recommend. It's hard, guys. So even if you are a woman who wants to work hard and you have certain ambitions, couple yourself with a man that can take care of you. I think that's crucial. And let him lead. Just let him lead, and you'll be happier because the burdens are so heavy, man. It's not worth it. Like, you don't have anything to prove to anyone. Just be happy and have peace. I think men are just more naturally are. Like you just naturally gravitate towards that role and are more naturally suited to lift those burdens. And we do it well with your support. When we're by ourselves, that's when things can get tricky and messy, and masculinity starts to manifest in not so decent ways. But as a family, when we're working together, masculinity shines. But yeah, I do a positive affirmation video today. I feel like this, I'm trying to find a way to work my way out of the positive affirmation video. Let me know if you made it all the way to the end. Drop a heart emoji if you watch it. Talking about love. Drop a heart emoji if you watch till the end. Yeah, that's a pray at the end of my video. So, dear Father God, I thank you for this individual watching this right now. Thank you for making them whole, unique, and guiding them towards peace, prosperity, and purpose. Thank you for blessing this person with wonderful people in their life who love them, take care of them, and bring the absolute best out of them. Thank you for maintaining those who are there to do the same thing. Thank you for blessing this person with love and marriage and sustaining that love and marriage and making you very, very happy. Thank you for blessing this person with a spirit of gratitude so they can give thanks for all the wonderful things in their life, and they giving thanks and can find peace, contentment, and attract even more blessings. Let your presence be felt in this person's life, so they know that you're God, that you will, that you love them, and you're just be there for them. Good health, long life, and happiness. Let this person ever they care about you, my own pray.